worlds where dreams collide. Sarah's voice a gentle guide through the realms of time and space. She takes us to a sacred place.
Now, please.
Yes.
I wondered, first of all, why did this group get together? What would you like to say about that?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so they're like, boom, that's the question we wanted you to ask. They were wanting to get this message through right away. So what they want to explain is how this subject works. So she has ADHD, and if you don't have that, when someone with that gets excited, it's almost like cocaine that's going through their veins, and then they're just like, "Ooh, I just got to like let this out of my mouth." And so that's what we were doing before. We were sharing messages, and she was getting excited, and they were almost like gurgling up, like they can't be contained. We're having a conversation on the other side saying, "Slow down." We're trying to teach her actually to get more control over this, because it sometimes gets her in dicey situations where something comes up and she just it's almost like other people would think of Asperger's, where it's like she's not going to swear, but she's going to let something come out that maybe really doesn't need to be told in that moment, or doesn't need to be like spoken right then. Wait till someone else is done speaking. So we were having a conversation just to say, let's give the information to her a little bit more slowly. But once that feeling of almost like that drug goes through her veins, she's been like dying to let this out. So the reason that you are all here is because Arkansas is incredibly, incredibly powerful. And there were people back in the 16, 17, 18, early 1900s that were very aware of this, but it had been suppressed from the general population. And Arkansas, within the whole world as a whole, has been made to almost be viewed somewhat as backwoods, hillbilly, redneck. And again, it was to put this sort of cover over it where people wouldn't recognize actually how powerful it really, truly is. So when you, Sarah and Crystal, booked this location, you were told to come because of the energetic grid and how energies would be amplified. And that is true. But you also thought in your mind, well, we'll come here and people from Arkansas will come. And we kind of were giggling behind the scenes, because although there are people from Arkansas that have come, we ensured that there was a broader group of people that would come, because we wanted them to feel that energy and be able to go back to their places on this planet and tell everyone about what they felt in Arkansas, so we can start drawing back the masses to this space, so people see the light here and are brought in to also feel that light. Now, there are people in power that don't want that to happen. They are incredibly attuned to the fact that there is so much power here. So Lee, for example, shared a video with Crystal before you put her under about how Google is coming close by to set up a huge, huge complex. And the reason Google's coming, because actually some of the energy in the earth is going to be able to power some of their equipment. So they're not even going to have to use electrical grids like most companies do. They're going to actually start tapping into the crystalline energy. And it's going to save them a lot of money and be able to power things in a way that hasn't really been done in such a large scale before. So they want to, when we say they, we say people in power, companies with a lot of money, people with agendas that aren't in alignment with what all of you really are here today. They want to come here and use the power of this grid system, of the crystal, of the just energetic amplification that exists almost in the air, in the water, in the soil, for their benefit. But we want people like you to come back here to this place and have other people awaken to this energy, because it's going to help the population as a whole awaken into that 4D, 5D space. So Arkansas is actually going to become a place of healing, of growth, of spiritual advancement. And it always has been, but has been suppressed. And so you here coming and sharing this experience and taking it back are actually going to be somewhat of wayfinders, and allowing other people to hear about this experience in this magical place and make their way here to connect with the land as well.
How do we maximize our experience while we're here? What exactly are we supposed to do, and what type of energy?
So one of the really great suggestions was already made this morning when you were told to go out and touch on the rocks. You can go where the suggestion was made, or you can go right out the door here. But the laying of hands, the touching of your feet, and grounding with the earth is going to be so incredibly important. You know, take off your shoes, take off your socks, walk around, even on the rock steps going down. That rock is connected deep to the earth. It came from the earth. So allowing that energy to transfer into your body. Find a tree, sit against the tree, get into the water. If you can get your body free from anything that would block the direct transmission and connect in, you're going to amplify the healing and the energy that you would otherwise be blocked from by your clothing, by your shoes, etc.
Wow. Okay. Can you tell me more about this group? And as you're telling me about it, I'm just moving your microphone. Can you tell me about the people in this group?
So when you asked them all this morning for their superpowers, and some were like, oh, it's this, and some are that, or some are like, I'm not sure. They are all incredibly powerful individuals, each and every one of you. And we're even looking for, oh, where is he? I'm like, there, I don't know. I'm being directed to energy. They're like, every single person was brought here for a reason. Even if they thought they were coming just to support someone else, they were actually coming because they are incredibly powerful too. So the power that they have identified as a superpower is true, but there is so much inherent goodness and power that each and every person in this room has yet to tap fully into. And being in a space where you can feel comfortable speaking a language that when sometimes you go home, you can't speak because people don't understand it, don't agree with it, don't know the terminology. You have to dummy it down, or you hide it because you feel like they're not going to be accepting of it. You can speak that language here. And again, when you're speaking it in a safe environment with people that are like-minded and understand what you're saying, that energy can flow more freely. And then the energy of the sacred land can connect with that and amplify that and awaken the gifts further within each and every one of you. So what is already happening in everyone here is that your chakras are being aligned and opened. Your 𝘃𝗶𝗃 is starting to spin around and protect you. It's always there, but it's spinning faster and faster and faster. So the energy around your body, for anyone that doesn't know what the 𝘃𝗃 is, it kind of originates at your belly button, and it almost ends up looking like the Star of David as it spins. And some people think it's small and it just stays in this space, but it doesn't. It is expanding out and it's coming up to the top of your head. So there's a triangle here, and then one that comes this way and goes all the way down to your feet. So it's spinning like a fan, and it is completely divinely protecting you. And also from the core of you, from your center here, it is igniting your power and allowing your energy to be balanced, while also, like you think of a windmill, sucking in the energy of this space and bringing it deep into your core and allowing you to become more and more awakened and aligned each second that you're here.
Wow, thank you for that. What is the current purpose of the 144,000? What is that all about? What is the 144,000? What does it mean?
So there's a meaning in numerology. You want to look at that number system. So 1, there's a repetitive number of 4 and 4. And we want to clearly say that 1 would relate to divine source. So 1 is source. It's everything. It is the number of the creator, even though there's a balance of energies of masculine and feminine, it is still one source energy. So there's the 1 there. If you look at the 000, that actually is a representation of something in the number of 3. And we often hear about she's like, oh, we're taking us back into the religious era. So Father, Son, Holy Ghost, but that is a misrepresentation. What actually the 3 was, way back when, is again the feminine energy, the masculine energy, and then the birthing of essentially Yeshua. Some call him Jesus. That is the symbol of 3. And so the 000, again, there's just so much that goes into this. 000, the 3, the power of 3, also being the circular symbol. So never ending energy, a complete flow, complete cycle. an energy that never stops. That's a huge part of that. And then the 4 and the 4, they're speaking of it being 4 being a powerful number on its own, but joined together in numerology would be 8. But then you add the 1, and that's 9. And if we look at this year, this is a 9 year, which symbolizes, again, as we talked with the circle, completion. It's the full circle from this point to this point again, coming together, and the completion of a cycle. Now, that doesn't mean a death. It essentially means a growth or a rebirth. And so that number system there's a lot of complexity that goes into it, but essentially it's aligning with this 9 number year.
Well, what does that mean for us? Like, what is being completed? I mean, what can we expect?
So for the planet, there's going to be completion of certain things like old energies. So someone even talked earlier about the fires in Lahaina. This was a discussion that came up already this weekend, and how, of course, it was an incredibly sad event, but that needed to happen because there was a lot of energy there that it had become stagnant essentially, and that fire needed to happen so rebirth and growth could happen. So there's a lot of completion and rebirth happening all over the world. But with you in this group today, for this weekend, you're coming to the end of a cycle where you felt like sometimes you were practicing or believing in these types of things in isolation. That end of that cycle is happening, and you are recognizing just by being here that you are not alone, that you have like-minded people, that the world is not as big as you thought. You can join the WhatsApp, you can text each other, you can email. It is easy to connect with like-minded people so much quicker than it ever was back in the day. So that there's a completion there, a feeling that you're working essentially in isolation. And then as the end of this year for the planet as a whole, we are coming to the end of a cycle where we're essentially, as a population, being guided by the neck almost. Like, look here, look there, look here. This is what we want you to see. More and more people are awakening and realizing that the reality that exists behind what you're actually being shown is what you really want to pay attention to. And those of you in this room, again, are helping to bring that awareness to the world. And that is the end of a cycle of, the media conglomerate having so much power. You can call each other, you can speak to one another. There are people that are so awakened now that they question everything, and for good reason. Whereas questioning, as you know, was so frowned upon. So that the cycle of just believing what you're told by the end of this year is very much coming to a close.
I love it. Is it true that there is a portal to inner earth in a cave here in Arkansas?
There are portals to inner earth in many places in the world. Arkansas has a few of them. The Grand Canyon has another one, for example. They're all over. And essentially it seems like you're going into inner earth because you're going into a cave that's like inside something. But what's actually happening is you're just slipping into a different dimension. So you go into these caves, or you go into these tunnel systems that are in like mountainous areas, and you end up slipping into another essentially portal, which is just another dimension. So it feels like you might be in the inner sanctity of the earth, or because you feel like you're somewhere completely different. And you are, in a sense, you're still part of this, but you're just a dimension or few over. So you're shifting into another world and seeing an experience or seeing technology that we might not have in this dimension, but it's not necessarily in the core of the earth. It's inside structure of the earth, but you're just shifting over energetically.
Can you look around here and tell me if there's one in close proximity?
Like, why do you ask her these questions? She's so terrible with geography. We are going to, okay, let's see here. They're just, they have to tell me. They can't show me because I don't know maps very well. So they're telling me there's one close to Little Rock area, that would be one to go. And they're talking about how there's there's a thought that you need to like mine for crystals like closer to like Mount Ida and that area, but there's actually a lot of crystals that could be mined near Little Rock as well that just haven't been found quite yet. And that it's very close to where this portal would be, and that you would go through again underground, and then you would be able to shift into this dimension. And it's almost like your energy, and anyone in this room has that energy. You guys are awakened enough, they're saying, that you would go down and you would be able to sort of shift quickly into that dimension.
Wow. What is the significance about Heber Springs? Why did JFK visit there before he died?
So he subconsciously was going there to leave an imprint of energy there. So Heber Springs is incredibly healing. This has been something that has also been almost like written out of your history books and has been quieted down. But he was aware before he left that there was a lot of healing to be had there, and that if he went, he again could amplify the energy that existed there by just putting his energy there. He had a beautiful, beautiful heart and a beautiful energy. So subconsciously, he was drawn there. He didn't know why. He was drawn there, though, to leave part of his energetic imprint in the waters. There's something very special about the springs. There's 7 of them. That number 7 is incredibly powerful. They want me to show you when you do 7 a certain way. So flip that now, and there's like an arrow, and it's like pointing down to the center of where these springs meet, and that almost has like a vortex portal-like energy there. So where the 7 springs come together, and that his energetic imprint is now part of that. And that if you go there, you can leave your energy there too. And what it does is it doesn't draw any negativity. So it has a very magical property where it doesn't absorb anything but powerful energy. And it almost brings it out of you and brings it from your system into the water. And so it's bringing these beautiful pieces of energy from each and every one of you that would visit that has that kind of crystalline, beautiful quality, and adds it into its existence to create an even more powerful, more healing water source.
Thank you. Why did Lee pick up the rocks and feathers to bring here?
So she was drawn to them because she connected with the magical properties of them. And then she wanted to share those magical properties with everyone here. And again, it was almost like a subconscious thing. She was being drawn there to do that by us. We were working through her because we want everyone to look at what she's brought. So holding the crystals in your hands and looking visually at the feathers, you don't even need to hold the feathers, but there's a pattern on the feathers that is going to help awaken something in each and every one of you. It's almost like when you see a crop circle, there's a very specific pattern on these feathers that is going to help with your awakening. So we guided her to see them, to pick them up and bring them here. And we're so grateful that she listened and did that for all of you, because again, it's going to help in the work that you're doing here this weekend.
Thanks. Becca wants to know, should she move to Arkansas? And if so, when?
We're like, okay, now we're going to talk apparently like we're from Arkansas. We're like, y'all need to move here. Y'all, that's the thing. They're like, all of you would be welcomed here. And if you have any desire to move here, that this is going to be a burgeoning field for people that are interested in what you're interested in. So there's some, work obviously going on already, but this place, and this is like, Crystal knows this now, but we're speaking through her because this isn't just something that she's learning because she just learned about it. We want you to all hear this too. Is if you're not aware, this area is where Walmart originated, and that's a huge corporation. And they started from really humble beginnings with really humble, heart-centered, almost heart-led practices. And as you're well aware, it's a huge corporation now. And as what tends to happen with most of those types of company, it is more driven around profit and greed. And you energy workers are able to offer a balance to that. So bringing again your energy here and almost not competing, but just being here holding this space against that space offers balance that is needed again in Arkansas. So if you do have any desire, they're saying essentially Arkansas is like welcoming you with open arms and would love to see any of you in this room come here.
Well, would Becca be happy here?
100% Becca would be happy here. They're saying if you're not happy here, that's a reflection of your internal state, because Arkansas has everything. They're showing that it has like mountains, areas for hiking, there's water, there's, nature walks, there's everything that you could possibly need for your spirit to be grounded, connected, and elevated. So if you came here and you weren't happy, then you need to take a minute to pause and look inside yourself, because they're saying this land has everything that we could possibly give you to make you happy.
Do her children need anything from her that she's not providing or doing? Can you look deep into this?
So it's not that she's not doing. They're really, really wanting me to express just their gratitude for the work that she's done in raising these children. And that sometimes, this will go for all parents in this room, you can be incredibly hard on yourself and have a tendency to focus on the moments where you feel you didn't do as well as you wanted to, and not focus on the million times you did everything so well and did it a lot better than other people in your situation might have done. And that those are the moments that you need to look at, and that your children, even in their moments where they aren't expressive of their gratitude, are grateful. Their souls are grateful. So they really want to say thank you for what you've given to your children, because you put them first. You provided them with a safe space. They know that they can come to you. They know that they can speak to you. But one thing that they're wanting me to encourage you to do is to broach a conversation, just like a touch base every year. Like, hey, we've been through a lot and I'm here to listen. And, why don't we talk about some of this? And let's have this like once a year meeting where we can dial in and see if you're ready to dive deeper into things and have those deeper discussions about some of the more trying times we've had in life. And at first they're kind of going to be like, oh, mom, I'm fine. But the more that you plant that seed, the more they're going to be ready to have those conversations and communicate. And they're showing me that it actually looks like you're not going to have to wait for that yearly get together, that they're going to say on their own, you know what, I was thinking about something. I felt like a nudge, and do you mind if we talk about this now? So just essentially vocalizing that you're open to and think that that would be healthy for them is something they're really encouraging.
Thank you. Is it true that part of our population is a result of Martians brought here 60,000 years ago, or just Martians brought here?
Well, they're kind of making me laugh. They're like, because they're showing me this little green Martian. They're like, what does Martian mean to you? What we can say is that there was crossbreeding isn't the right terminology. There's kind of like a negative connotation to that, but there was alien life form, alien to all of you, different from all of you. And they're like telling me, be careful, that's not quite right either, because a lot of you in this room came from that lineage of alien life form. So they're not different than you, but y'all think that they're different. So there were ETs that came here thousands and thousands of years ago. There were already humans on the earth, and they did have offspring. And that offspring had offspring and offspring, and as it goes. And so there are many of you in this room that have alien lineage, but Martian, if we're thinking like green Martians.
Well, from Mars.
From Mars. Okay, just a second. No. They're saying there were people on Mars that ended up living there, but they weren't the ones that heavily populated this planet. They came from galaxies farther away that aren't even within our planetary system. That Mars was kind of doing its own thing. There might have been a few, but that wasn't the heavy.
Well, the people that did come from Mars, where are they now?
So they're showing me that Earth wasn't actually the place for the people from Mars to come, that they actually went into a galaxy farther away. There were some that chose to come here, and that was actually sort of like a benevolent thing of them to do. They are planting the seeds in people's minds to recognize that Mars is a viable option to return to. When they left, it wasn't, you were still able to live there, but not as healthfully as you were. And they're showing me that that's kind of what's happening to Earth. We're getting to that point where you can still live here, but there are so many people and things in play that are trying to make you sick and are making your planet sick. You can still survive, but it's going to get to a point where many people aren't going to physically feel like they really are actually doing anything but surviving. And that's almost what had happened in Mars. And so they made the decision to leave and allow their planet time to heal. And essentially, it's getting back to that place. And they knew that it would. So they came here to Earth, like a handful of them, to be able to plant that seed in people's minds as that being a viable option, because they actually had insight and sort of psychic abilities to see that something similar was going to happen on Earth. They could again see the trajectory of what humans tend to do and have for like millennia. And that's why they came here more than the idea of procreating.
Well, I understand that one level of reality the Earth will be destroyed, but what does it look like for all the other levels? Like if you can zoom out a little bit and see the different dimensions, I guess.
It's beautiful. It's almost like we were
so
showing.
Confused.
It's, of course it's confusing because you're coming at it from a human mind perspective, and you have been trained to have limiting beliefs and um, a finite imagination. Really, your mind is quite capable of seeing everything that we see, but you have not been brought up to believe that or trained your brains that way. So it does seem complicated. For us, it's not at all. We can see everything that's happening all at once, and there's, all things happening all at once, all the time. But there will be a destruction of Earth, and if we link it back to the Lahaina fire, again, that needed to happen. There needed to be a cleansing in that space and a rebirth. There is part of Earth and a group of people in Earth that are never going to learn the lessons that need to be learned. And what's happening is because they're not, they keep bringing those of you that are ready to grow down. And so we could do what we have in the past, which is flood the system, just like we did in Atlantis. We could cause an earthquake. We could cause an ice storm. We could wipe out the majority of you again, but we know that we would just end up in this spot again. So we have worked so heavily on the other side and up in the planetary systems and up in the stars to look down, to join council, to figure out the best path forward. And that really was an ascension, and bringing those of you who are ready to expand into that space up and leave that space behind. And so when we just talked about going into the like Grand Canyon area or this portal near Little Rock, essentially that's all that's happening, is you're going to just shift into this other dimension, and this other one that is really not serving anyone anymore is going to be left behind. And we are not going to destroy it. They are going to destroy themselves. But thankfully, you're not going to have to stay and be part of that destruction, because you're going to have been able to bring your energy and your spiritual alignment up enough to transcend into that next dimension.
Okay, well, speaking of like destructions, is Mother Earth, like the one that we're on, okay, planning major earthquakes for California and the West Coast in 2026?
Oh, they're saying this, it's hard to talk about because your subject here is just such an empathic person, and when we show her what's coming, it just makes her incredibly sad, because there's going to be suffering all over the planet with all sorts of things, with famine, with earthquakes, with tsunamis. And the reason that that's happening is because they're trying to hammer home a few messages. They're wanting to hammer home to the people that are in power that you're actually not in power. Again, it's an opportunity for them to wake up and step back, but they're already showing me we can see the wheel has started turning and they're not going to come off it. Some, but not enough. But the idea was like maybe we can hammer them enough to have them wake up and realize again, like you are not in control. Like Mother Earth is essentially in control, but they have done so much to prepare themselves and protect their communities and their families. They have, created communities underground. They have already prepared for this type of stuff. So there will be loss of life, but there unfortunately will be more loss of life to people that are not awakened yet or don't really understand what's going on. And a lot of people in power, unfortunately, will still remain in power. But yes, that's going to happen. And it's also happening because, sadly, when those types of things occur, it actually brings you together. It actually does raise your vibration as a human race because you wake up and you realize that, oh my gosh, there's so much more than my little life and what I'm worried on today, that I got caught in traffic or my spouse said something mean to me or I went to work and my boss yelled at me. It's like, wow, no, look outside myself and look how I can connect with other people. And when these tragedies happen, as awful as they are, it actually brings you together. So there is a piece of ascension and spiritual growth that also occurs from those events.
Yeah, but okay, so looking at all the layers of the reality and the people in this room, if you live in California, would they need to move now? Because obviously if they think there's going to be destruction there.
They're saying don't run. They're saying don't run. Never move anywhere in fear. That there will be destruction, but it's not what you're thinking. It's not going to be like California is just going to disappear. There's going to be destruction, but in every area where there's destruction, they need light workers to be there too. So if you're feeling called and pull or feeling a pull to go somewhere, go, but don't ever go anywhere out of fear. They're being very clear about this, that don't ever run. If you are walking and moving because you're feeling drawn somewhere, that's a different story. But they're not saying that anyone in this room that lives in California needs to move unless they're feeling a pull to do so.
Well, can you explain exactly what is going to happen, just so people that live in California have a heads up? Like, so they don't need to run. Like, what exactly would they do if there's a major earthquake coming?
They're saying it's the how do you say that? Old aid added? How do you say that? Old
Adage.
That's what they're saying. It's the they're talking about like shelter in place. Essentially, if there's an earthquake there, that you have written in your chart what is going to happen, and they're saying essentially shelter in place, and that if you are meant to be safe and protected, you will be. And they're showing me that everyone in this room actually has like this protective bubble of light around you, that it's not your time to go, that you actually need to stay here to again be that sort of shining light and beacon of hope and calm for people as they go through these types of things. So again, not running in fear. Is it going to be a scary experience? Of course it is. But essentially, they're just keep repeating that phrase, shelter in place and be there to support. And
Well,
there,
what will it look like? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What exactly is supposed to happen in California?
there's going to be more fires. They're showing that there will be more fires, and they're calling these people like fire starters, because a lot of these fires, some are due to climate change, but what they're showing me is that it's more people starting fires, and then the fires are taking off more quickly because of the climate change. It's not as much as the climate itself is causing the fire, it's causing the conditions for the fire to spread faster. So drought and dry conditions, trees that have already sort of started to break down and their wood is more easily combustible. So they're showing me these little fire starters, and that we can view them as being horrible people, but they also are serving a purpose here. And a lot of the fire, again, is to do with the destruction of certain areas that do need that rebirth. Like if you look at a forest, there is a cycle to it, and it does need to sometimes be burnt down to be cleansed and cleared. And the unfortunate thing is, with the breadth and spread of humans across the earth, they're like showing me like, you guys are everywhere. So it's hard to not have humans affected, but that some of this energy needs to be turned. So there's going to be more fires, and there is going to be earthquakes, but they're showing me that the earthquakes, there's going to be homes that crumble, that there's going to be structures that collapse, but that it's not going to be to this massive scale that you might be thinking. It's going to be in smaller pockets, kind of one at a time. And so that, again, that idea like that this whole part of the country is going to disappear, collapse at once, is not going to happen.
Okay, can you scan this room? What about where everyone else lives? Like, I mean, what about coastlines? Are there going to be hurricanes? I know other people live in Florida. Like, just look around the room and tell me, is everybody safe where they are right now?
So they're saying very clearly that no one is exempt, that no one is going to be exempt in any part of the world from something that has to do with a change in the topography of the area that you live in, whether that be floods, whether that be fires, whether that be earthquakes. There are shifts happening. The tectonic plates are shifting. There's going to be the sinking of certain land masses, but there's going to be the rising of others. They're showing me rising of water. And so they're showing me that in some areas, there's going to be a lot of scrambling to get up on like mountains and cliff sides to get above these rising water levels. But they're saying that, I don't know why. I think it's just like how it's making me feel, because they're like, this is depressing. And you're like depressing her, but it's fine. It's fine. We should talk about this. But what they want to say is this isn't all going to happen at once. It's not like the whole world is going to be in chaos at the same time. But what the chaos is that's going to happen is that where this happens in one part of the world, which we're already seeing over and over, that when this happens, these people have to go somewhere. And so what's going to become chaotic is this constant shift of humanity. So it's like, oh, okay, well, they're in a drought. They have no water. They want to move here now because we have water. Oh, we have water, and now we're flooding. And now, okay, now we're going to go over here. And this shift is going to constantly be happening, and it's going to create a lot of chaos and constant moving and a fight for resources. And that's more what you have to be concerned about, they're showing, versus the rising water levels or the fires or the earthquakes. It's more of this constant shift of humans and the movement and fight for resources. And that this is an opportunity to either come together or decide to be divisive, which happens consistently with human beings, where instead of saying we have a bucket of water, we can each have a scoop today, there's going to be a group of people that said, I want the whole damn bucket and I'm taking it for my family. And so it's an opportunity to say, which way are we going this time? And can we finally start to work together? And there are outcroppings of people already doing this. They're buying more land. They're getting out of the cities. They're building structures that could house multi-generational families. They could grow their own food, and they're preparing for this. And what they think they're doing is just preparing maybe for their small circle. But these areas of land where people are doing this are going to be infiltrated by others. And essentially, there's going to be no choice but to do one of two things. Again, guard your whole property and try to keep it for yourself, or open the doors and find a way to work together. And so it's a really interesting time in humanity. Again, they're showing that is the concern versus more of the, weather, blah, blah, blah.
Should we stockpile some food? I mean, if like there's all these distractions coming in, if you fight for a resource, should we get like something where we can filter our water and some food? Like,
they're saying don't stockpile resources because the timing of everything changes. They're like, we thought that the shift was going to happen in the world like a few years ago now. We're behind, but they're saying in the grand scheme of things, which everyone in this room is basically understanding of, time is just a human construct. So you're not behind, but we thought that the shift would occur sooner than it has. And so they're saying don't stockpile resources because timelines can essentially change. But to your question about water filtration, that is a very big check that they're showing things like that, batteries, water filtration systems. They're even showing things like flotation devices, like life jackets. That's important. Your flashlights, a generator, but they're saying the generator interesting because you're going to have trouble at some point getting a hold of gasoline to make those generators run. So solar, if you can do any of that, like have a solar panel or two as backup, and then start planting your gardens. Have an understanding of how to grow food in every single temperature and climate, because people think that you can only have these gardens in summer weather, but that's not true. There's a lot of things that can grow in the winter. If you do, they're showing me like how to like even if you cut, I guess, like a plastic ice cream pail and put it over your garden beds. I'm not a gardener, but they're showing they offer some protection in the winter. You can grow kale. You can grow things even in cold climates in the winter, and that we need to start looking back in time and looking at what our ancestors did and how they lived, because an understanding of that is going to be one of the most important skills. So for those people in the world that work at companies like Google or, work in these tech companies, it's great now. But what everyone's going to be turning to is, okay, oh, you're a carpenter, you're an electrician, you know how to garden, you know how to sew, you know how to like grind flour down and make sourdough bread, like those old school trades that have such a history within human race. That is what is going to be so important. So start familiarizing yourself with those techniques.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a way to prevent or treat Alzheimer's or other dementias?
So they're actually like really angry about this, about Alzheimer's in general. This was like a human-made disease. This is not a natural occurrence. They're being very clear about this, and they're making me kind of twitchy because they're really upset about this. They're upset actually about so much that's happening on our planet, which I know that it won't come as a surprise to people in this room, but they're just so frustrated because they're showing how careless and unsympathetic and uncompassionate, and they don't use the word evil lightly, but this is becoming just so evil. What people in power are doing to try to make people on this planet sick, and Alzheimer's is one of these things. That this should never have happened, that this actually came again from the toxins in our environment, from the toxins that are put in our food sources. It is affecting the brain like never before. And if you look back, and you can look at case studies or you can look at statistics, Alzheimer's is a relatively new disease that has only started in the last, they're showing 50 to 100 years, becoming incredibly prevalent. And the best way to safeguard yourself against this is to do some of the things we just touched on. Grow your own food, decrease that pesticide level, filter your water, decrease the garbage you put in your body, including alcohol and junk food and all of that stuff, because that is going to help decrease your likelihood of getting Alzheimer's. Because again, this is a man-made disease. This is not something that just naturally exists or is something inherently in your bloodlines. This was something that was made by scientists who literally sit down and think, how can we make people sick? And this is one of the ways they did it. And it is devastating because it not only affects the individual that has the condition, it affects all of their family and their support people, because it creates such a heavy burden on them as far as care. And more and more people are getting this disease, and people that are caring for them are getting sick in other ways because, these companies are trying to make so many of you sick. So the people that are trying to care for them are becoming more exhausted than normal, not just from providing them care, but from the toxic overburdens in their system that they are trying to battle. And then there's the idea, well, maybe we can put them in these care homes, but the care homes are expanding and exploding at the seams. So it's created this really, really heavy burden for the social systems and for all of you trying to care for these individuals. And they know this, and it makes you feel like you can almost not focus on anything else but trying to care for them and care for yourselves, and doesn't allow you what you're giving yourselves this weekend the opportunity to do, which is tap into your light and tap into your spiritual growth. It keeps you in a more heavy state where your focus isn't really allowed to be elevated beyond that narrow focus. And so they're saying that's a very long answer to Alzheimer's, but just know again that this was not something that came about naturally, that it was man-made, and that you as humans have the ability to counteract that.
Okay, sorry if I missed it, but how exactly do you counteract it? Are there any specific herbs that would work for Alzheimer's or any other dementia?
So they're linking back to the picture they showed me of growing kale. Even in the winter, they're saying kale, but in juice form is actually really good. So if you could buy a juicer and juice kale, and they're like, you want to get a juicer that really can pull out the juice, because you will go through a ton of kale trying to get just a few drops out of a juicer. They're showing like there's like a centrifugal model, I think it's called. You want a different one that like grinds more. So just do your research essentially and get a juicer that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck as far as juice. But the kale is incredibly beneficial. And then they're saying an apple a day. They're saying that. They're like, oh, we're giving you that old adage thing again. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. Apples are very helpful. Very, very helpful. They're like, it's often overlooked. You'll put apples out and people won't grab from them anymore, but you really should be eating an apple a day. And they're saying that juicing an apple is good, but they actually encourage more of the eating of the apple because they really want you to get the skin and the fiber. There's like a magical thing that happens. They're showing me when you eat the apple as like a whole. So kale and apple, but done two different ways. And they're saying that they would encourage the drinking of filtered water with a sprinkle of pink Himalayan salt and a little squeeze of lemon, and that multiple times. They're like, people are hearing, oh, like have a glass of water in the morning with lemon in it, but they're saying throughout your entire day that that's going to balance the minerals in your body and actually add minerals that you need, and that the lemon is very alkaline and very balancing, and the Alzheimer's is incredibly inflammatory, and so that helps settle some of the stuff in your system. So filtered water, they're making me very clearly say that, filtered water, and they're like, I'm trying to ask for specifics, like how much Himalayan salt, and they're saying like a sprinkle, not even a teaspoon, but like take like a pinch, and then a squeeze of like half a lemon.
Thank you for that. Can you tell me about Adam's calendar? Who made it?
So I keep hearing something to do with Jehovah's Witness about Adam's calendar, and this goes far back, and I don't know why this is all coming through on my left side. So there's something there. Yeah, there's something to do with Jehovah's Witness and Adam's calendar, and I don't know why it's almost, there's like a ringing in my left ear here. I've got to figure this out. Just a second. Does anyone know what ADM stands for? Okay, let me see if I can get this. Something about activating something matter. They're showing me that Adam is actually coming from ADM, and that there was messaging given through, and they wanted to say that it was Adam's calendar because it felt more, that it would be, I guess, more easily accepted by people if they termed it with a familiar name, something that almost came from like biblical times, that they could connect to that and spread. But Adam's calendar actually came from something. They're showing me the abbreviation ADM, and it has to do with an activation of I'm not getting the D here, matter, and that it's a calendar that actually links up with an energy source in the sky, which most of our calendars do. So they're linking me back again to the 13 month calendar, which many of you in this room would be aware of used to exist, but they brought us into the 12-month calendar for reasons that align again more with people in power that are trying to bring down the energetic levels of humankind. Adam's calendar is linked up with the star systems and has a lot of, activating dense matter. This is what it is. ADM Adam, activating dense matter. And so it's actually, this is giving me goosebumps. It's a calendar put into place to help with the ascension of the planet, essentially. And that matter exists, and matter, we can look at atoms and how atoms and particles work, and they're always moving and they're always flowing. But humans try to put things into tight little boxes and contain things, and that is not how energy is supposed to work. Energy is supposed to constantly be moving, constantly be flowing. And when people in power do what they do, they try to keep you all in a box. They're showing me, and keep you compressed. And just knowing of Adam's calendar and, viewing the system that aligns with the planets, and even subconsciously opening up that expansiveness, it would allow activations to occur again in a subconscious way. It allowed your matter to become lighter and brighter and not so dense and kept in a box. And so this messaging was given down to someone that worked in the community of Jehovah's Witness. They didn't even really know exactly what it was, but they were told the initials ADM, and we're told you have to change it to something else. And so it is Adam's calendar, but it actually is ADM's calendar.
Is it useful for healing?
Oh, they said absolutely. It's useful for healing on a level that you wouldn't understand, but just looking at the calendar and using the calendar in a visual way. They're showing me again the crop circle idea, that you don't have to consciously understand all of these things. Your spirit vibrationally knows and connects with what it needs to, so it will heal you just by seeing and understanding and using it.
What is the future of Southern Africa?
So there's always a theme to these, right, Sarah? And they're showing me again the fires in Lahaina, and how again, the concept, I guess, of rebirth, that's huge today. And so they're showing in South Africa that there is a rebirth that's happened there, that there was, obviously, many of you would know, oppression for years and years and years based on the color of people's skin. So people that were of African descent that had black skin were repressed, which was crazy because they were essentially there first. And there has been a lot of growth that came through, the apartheid, everything that came, from all of that to where they are now, because it has been turmoil there. So there was oppression, and then what humans do when they are allowed to grow into what they were sort of rightly are always deserving of, you have an option to say, like, okay, I can step into that and I can grow into that. Or you can say, I want everything back that was stripped from me and my family, and focus on that line of sight, instead of saying, I'm going to focus on my growth and moving now more freely. And what the majority of people in South Africa chose to do was say, I want everything back that I should have had. So I'm going to take it from you because your family took it from me. And there were, white settlers there who had farms in their families for generations, where that was taken from them. And there was just a lot of hurt feelings that were created from this, because those white settlers had nothing to do. They're saying be careful, not nothing, because they did have people that worked on their farms and they didn't pay them quite the way that they should have been and all of that. But they weren't the originators of the main issues that had happened there. And they were stripped of land and progress that their family had made, that they had poured their blood, sweat, and tears into for years too. And it created this chaos and just a lot of really hard feelings. But they're showing me finally that energy is settling, not completely, but it's getting much better. And they're finding a way to coexist and work together as an entire community now. And they're showing me that actually South Africa is going to end up being a beacon of light for the world, where not that many years ago it was like almost like bathed in this dark energy where people were leaving and telling other people don't go, it's not safe. Now they're actually building this community almost quietly that is going to be functioning so incredibly well, and people are going to start returning, those who have left, and they're going to start bringing people back because the quality of life is actually going to be incredible there, which is good because they're showing that, like Arkansas, South Africa has a lot of natural, beautiful energy too, and that it just was being suppressed by all of this human density and struggle. But now that that's starting to clear away, people will be able to go to South Africa and feel safer and feel more connected to the land because it's an incredibly magical place.
Thank you. Can Marissa's eye disability be cured? Can you look deep into this?
They're making my eyes twitch, and they're showing me that it can be calmed, and that this whole like disability, they're showing me again, it's like very like inflammation related. They're just doing a little bit of work, so just give me a second here where they're just working on Marissa's eyes, and they're also saying, well, we can do this and you can keep talking. So they're just going to separate my brain in half. They're going to do their stuff while I keep doing mine, and they want to just like give the message to everyone just about how devastating essentially inflammation is to all of us, and that it's creating massive health concerns in everyone, and that even if you look at someone and they don't look like they're inflamed, that almost every single human being on earth is right now, and it expresses it in multiple ways. So it could be eye conditions, it could be skin conditions, it could be, loss of hair, all sorts of different manifestations, but it all really is deeply rooted in inflammation. So they just wanted to make a plug again for being kind to yourselves and watching what you eat, what you ingest. And they're also saying that, again, when we spoke about the magic of Arkansas, that the more time you spend connecting with places like this and spending time in nature, that it actually is going to reduce your desire for consumption of food in general, and especially food that doesn't feel or align with you energetically. So they're saying that this is like, a lot of people think this is quackery, but the idea of like eating the sun, have any of you heard of this, or like breathing in the sun, that it actually nourishes you like a food would. And when you look into the sun, there again, we've talked about this in the past there, where vitamin D is absorbed directly through your eyes. So when you guys go out and you sit in the sun and you put on sunglasses, you're blocking the best way for your body to absorb vitamin D. We've been programmed and conditioned to believe that the sun is scary, but it's not. In fact, you just have to build up your tolerance to it. So they're saying lay off the sunscreen because that is so toxic, it's so inflammatory, and just go sit in the shade. Then go sit in the sun a bit, and then sit in the shade and build your skin up to being able to spend more time in the sun. And when you're in the sun, take the sunglasses off and look up at the sun. And that it'll take some time. Your eyes aren't going to be used to it. You're probably going to be like tearing up and, squinting. But that even for this eye condition, that it's so important to allow that vitamin D to come in through your eyes, your eyeballs, and it helps decrease inflammation as a whole. And again, it is so important as you move forward and where you're headed as a human race, where again, we're going to talk about the scarcity of food, that there's a way to allow your body to get the nutrients it needs and to feel more satiated just by looking up at the sky or grounding yourself with Mother Earth. So they're showing me again, feet on the ground, tree hugging essentially, connecting with the water systems and just Mother Earth as a whole is going to do those two things: decrease your inflammation and also fuel your body with nutrients it needs that come directly from Mother Earth without having to ingest things in your mouth, which also is going to be good because not only because of the scarcity, but again, just because of the way your food is being produced and how everything is being genetically modified. The less you need to eat, probably the better, because it's less for your body to have to break down and filter and remove toxins. It's just gentler on you as a whole. And that, again, just like the sun, learning to be able to spend more time in it and building up a tolerance to the sun, the more you do this, the less and less food you have to eat, and it becomes more and more natural. At first, it's going to feel very weird. It's like breaking old habits, but they're encouraging you to start doing this and trending in that direction.
Well, what is the very root cause of Marissa's eye disability? Like the very root cause, where does it come from? And what's the purpose of it?
They're showing like, but I. And they're saying, I don't believe in myself. I haven't stepped into my truth. I. They're saying that over and over and over, that there's a bit of a block there as far as what she needs to do. And as far as like releasing old patterns and stepping in, and there's a feeling almost of like, I don't deserve this, or I'm not capable of, or I. And so it's almost like blocking. It's like, well, if you're going to do this and not believe in yourself, and these are the thoughts that, go through your head and manifest in other ways. And so the more that Marissa starts stepping into her power and belief in herself, and that there are no blocks and that the sky's the limit, that you really can manifest anything that you want. And it's just breaking free of those old patterns where you have those limiting beliefs. This eye condition, and they're still working on it, by the way, this eye condition is going to start to recede into the background as she steps forward into her power.
Oh, wow. So she can heal it then.
100%. They're like, all of you can heal yourselves. All of you can heal yourselves. 100%.
Where is Marissa going, and what's happening when she has out-of-body experiences?
So there's a few places. So she goes to visit loved ones. She goes to visit friends. She goes to the other side to see people that have passed. And she also goes to almost like, they're showing me like with Mr. Kennedy, who is at the Heber Springs. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, she's doing a very similar thing. She's going out of body and spreading her light energy around, and that we're all energy. And so you don't need to be in physical form, that you are a light form and light beings, and that so you can astral travel out of your body and still leave the energetic imprints around the world. And that's part of what she's doing, is to leave those imprints to help, again, with the ascension of humanity, that it's almost like pixie dust, and that the more and more of you that come to together and leave that energetic imprint on places that need it, it allows for the ascension to occur more easily. And they also want me to say that that's part of the reason that you're all here in Arkansas, is not just to open yourselves, but again, to leave your energetic imprint here, because you are so powerful, and they're like thanking you for leaving that footprint here too. Again, it's like Mr. Kennedy who did that. You're all doing that too. It doesn't have to be at those springs. It can just be on any part of this land, and that your specific energy is helping the energy as a whole to grow and grow and grow and expand. And that is something that she's doing while she's awake, and her subconscious mind is very aware of how powerful she is. And just a reminder to try and remind herself in a conscious way every day of that same thing.
Thank you. Okay, Andrea wants to know, she's felt a strong presence of a dragon guide lately, and she suspects that it's helping shift the consciousness. Could you speak about their presence on the planet right now and their significance, especially in her life?
I just want to make sure I heard this correctly, because I'm getting a vision and I want to make sure that we're headed in the right direction. So is it a dragon?
Dragon, yeah.
So what I'm seeing right now, so it was really cute. It was showing me its tail, and it was like flicking, And I'm just, my eyes are opening a little bit here, and this dragon's here right now above my eyes. So there's the wings and the dragon here, and the tail is coming up. So 100% the dragon's here, but they're also showing me like the main dragon's here, and then there's like little dragons all around, and they're like, thank you, because we've been here with you already, and we're going to be here with you all weekend. So dragon energy is very much here, and they're wanting me to link back to Lee, because before we started this session, Lee showed me some rocks that she had brought, and there's a lot of red hues in these rocks, and she was wondering why she brought them, if they could be activated, what the reason was that she felt compelled to bring those here. And that actually has a ton to do with the dragon energy. So the fire, the red in these rocks has a lot to do with the power of dragons. And if you look at these rocks, they almost look scaled, like they have scalar sort of formations in them, and they're showing me that's like the outer part of the dragon body, and that there's also a lot of quartz um, sprinkled in there as well, and that's sort of the magical glow of dragon. So they're like, those are actually what they would call like a dragon rock. And so if she's open to sharing them with you all, that essentially it's a physical representation of them being around you here today, and that they are with Andrea all the time, and that she has a totem that is a dragon. And the reason for that is because in a past life, she had a lot of dragon features, and it would be a natural thing for her energy and the dragon friends that she had in that lifetime to continue to support her in this lifetime. So since the day of birth, she's had that energy and that totem following her around.
Wow. What are the dragons doing with humanity right now?
So they're like, you're talking about earlier in this reading, fire starters that are starting fires. They're fire starters, but in a totally different way. They're like kicking humanity's, they're like showing me they're breathing on energy workers to like essentially light a fire under our butts is what they're doing. They are fire starting us to start spreading our light and waking up. And they're like, that's why you're seeing things happen so quickly in the last few years, because there's been people that have been tapping into this type of energy work for a long time. But finally, they're showing me it's like spreading like wildfire, and like the ascension is happening like so quickly now, and that they're part and parcel of that work, because they're like essentially spreading that and like lighting this fire to ignite it, because they know that it's time, that we are finally ready to like shed this old way of being, and have our rebirth and have that growth into these next dimensions, and that they're here to support in that work. And so they're around us all the time and working hard to ensure that we do that.
Is there any specific way to work with them that would be most beneficial for us and them?
Yeah, they're saying call us in the right way. They said we're kind of tired about being like branded as, unsupportive or viewed as a detriment to humans. Like they're showing, if you go back through the fairy tales, like there was always like the dragon slayers, and they're like, we don't need to be killed. But of course, that's what's in the storybooks, because people in power would want us viewed that way, because we are actually, again, here to support you and help with your ascension and help with your growth, and they wouldn't want that to happen. They would want to repress us. So please start viewing us as the allies that we actually are. And they're saying be careful with your words is one thing they're saying. They're like, you can breathe out fire through your mouth so easily as humans, and that it cuts people like a knife. And there's that old saying, like, sticks and stones break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And they're like, words will never hurt you if you find a way not to let them. But that's just not where we are as humans. Words hurt people so deeply. And words are so powerful that AI, the way you guys use AI now, is all about words. Like, tell me this and tell me that. And just be careful about the language that you're choosing, and speak kinder to one another. Speak with more like light and love in the tones of your voice, even. And they're saying that like when they breathe their fire out, it's not in an angry way. They're breathing their fire out in the form of warmth and love and it's like a warm embrace and like a warm glow, not the way again that they have been portrayed in the past. And so to just again see them for the allies that they are, call on them, call on their energy. They're here. They're just waiting for you to allow them to come more into your life. And that all you have to do is like acknowledge that they exist and acknowledge them in the way that they want to be seen, because they want to be seen like all of us for actually who we are, and that they're ready to work with you. They will help with protection. They will help with speaking your truth in a way that is, like I said, not one that's cutting and harmful. They will help as far as like making you feel protected, like in their sort of, again, their scalar shell. They can offer you that protection. They can help ground you with Mother Earth. They have one of, they're very much fire led, and they can offer that grounding through that heat source. So just calling on them as they're saying, just one of many tools in your toolkit to help with your growth.
Thank you. What is the very root cause of Pat's chronic cough? And is there anything she can do about it?
So this again sounds like there's information about not so much about not stepping into her power, but not feeling like she can speak her truth. There's like a congestion here in her throat where she's like held down information that she's felt compelled to speak of, or hurts or truth that she would like to share but feels like, maybe would be hurtful to others. So she holds it down and doesn't speak, everything on her mind. And they're saying, and that's sometimes a good thing. We don't all have to say everything that comes into our brains. And they're again like pointing at her, like, we're still working with her to control sometimes what comes out of her mouth. But the idea is that you have to release. It's that idea of the energy flow, that again, it's not meant to be contained. And so even if you don't feel like you can express directly to someone how they've hurt you or what they've done, that you can write it out, that you can speak it aloud in a room even without that person there, that you can ask to speak to that person's higher self and have a discussion with their higher self, but that energy needs to go somewhere. It needs to be released, and it needs to be have the opportunity to flow out, because right now it's being held here in her throat. And as long as that doesn't have an outlet, it's going to continue to grow and make that chronic cough even more cumbersome.
Okay, so what does she need to do exactly? She needs to express what's stuck there? Is that what it is?
She needs to speak her truth and release any hurts or emotions that maybe she hasn't allowed herself to express. And again, doesn't have to be directly to the people involved. It can be indirectly, but it needs to come out. And she needs to be less afraid. So she's very much getting into this world that, this group is here for and has for some time. But like many people in this room, doesn't feel a comfort level in speaking about it with her loved ones or those in her community. But she has to recognize that what she has to say is just as valuable as someone who is like, oh, I believe in Trump, or I believe in this, and you're going to hear all about it. She has so much that, the world needs to hear as well. But it's about your delivery. That like they want to make it very clear. We're going back to the dragon thing. Like you don't have to shove, and obviously this is an analogy to the throat. You don't have to shove anything down anyone's throat. You just have to like step into your power and just be. And sometimes that's just like being so comfortable with who you are and where you're going that you almost radiate a light or a knowing that other people can see, and that you can carry this knowledge forth in a gentle way, in a compassionate way, but that just know that you can carry that forward and don't need to repress it. And that when you even just allow release in that sort of sense, even in that small way, that cough is going to start to diminish.
Okay, now that she's aware, can you work on her as well?
We are going to work on her. They're showing that they want to do work while she's sleeping at night, because when she lays down to rest, as her body quiets down, that cough can become even worse. And they're really going to dial in tonight to start to work with her body, and they're showing work with her mind to allow that mindset change to happen. So they'll do a lot of work tonight.
Thanks. Delane wants to know, what is the root cause of her headaches and how does she resolve that? What is the very root cause of those headaches?
They're saying this is not going to be a surprise there. Dehydration, actually. It's so simple, but that Delane needs to hydrate more, and that there was a time in her life where she was so focused on caring for others that she was forgetting to care for herself. And part of that is something as simple as staying hydrated, and that they want to put a plug in again here that, that 8 cups a day thing, that's the low end of the water that all of us need, that we really need to train our systems again. It's almost like training to be in the sun, train our systems to drink more water. And that the more water you drink, your body is like, oh my gosh, thank you. And you're going to start to feel thirstier and thirstier and thirstier. You're going to start thinking at first, how can I be thirsty? I just drank 8 cups of water. I used to only drink 2. But that just shows you how much your body wants it. It's almost turned itself off from wanting it because you don't give it to it. So the more you drink water, the thirstier you're going to get, but eventually you'll get past that and your body will feel satiated. So essentially, it sounds simple, but there's a lot of dehydration going on there, and they want her to drink more water. And they're showing again to mineralize it, if you could, with the salt, and then dial in a little bit of that lemon.
Is that all she needs to do?
They're like, actually, that's all she needs to do. They're like, yeah, people want these like bigger explanations, but sometimes it's just really simple. And in this case, it's really simple.
What about like, if we're all supposed to drink more water, not all our water sources are that great. I mean, is it more beneficial? This is what I want to know. Is it more beneficial to drink the crappy water, or is it more beneficial to hold off on water until we have a good source?
They're like, it is a balance. And so they want everyone to have the purest water possible. And that's not always accessible, but what is accessible is a crystal. And they're talking again about making these crystal water, and that you can change the dynamic of water so easily. It can be by focusing intention on it. So speaking to it and saying a word, like take a piece of paper and write love on the bottom and tape it to the bottom of your glass. Or take a crystal and set it outside of the glass for like 15 minutes before you drink it. And you are going to completely change the components of that water. So if there's fluoride, if there's a bunch of chlorine, a bunch of junk in it, you can, have your water essentially blessed as you choose to change the components of the water to make it healthier for you to drink. So if you don't have access to a filtration system, there are other ways to do it. Just speak to it, set an intention, use the crystals or use the water words, and you can change that water so it is more healthy for you to drink.
Okay, but looking deeply into the water sources, okay, is Crystal Geyser from Norman, Arkansas a good source if we were to drink like bottled water?
They're not fans of bottled water at all. They're just like, that's like, actually, you can see that's like super irritating for them. They're actually so irritated by this bottled water thing. For one, half the time you're being told you're getting water from a crystal geyser. It's not even coming from there. It's coming from somewhere else. And you're, again, like adding to this, it's this whole thing about consumption in the planet. And you're just like, where they're like, where are all these plastic bottles going? Like, where do you think they're going? They're like asking, they're like, where do you think they're going? Where? They want an answer from all of you. And they're like, okay, we'll tell you. They're going into the water. So the plastic is going back into your water system. And it's because of, where does it end up? It ends up in the ocean. It ends up in your lakes. It ends up in your soil, hunkered underground where it's buried and leaches back into your water system. Like, bottled water is terrible. They're like, it's one of the worst inventions ever for, again, your health, not for the people that are making money off of it. But they're like, no. Don't drink bottled water. If you want this crystal geyser water, go get it yourself and put it in a filtration system, because even that should be filtrated. But don't buy bottled water. They said it would be more beneficial just to take the water out of your tap and bless it, like we've just said, than buy any water that tells you it's from anywhere else.
Okay, so it is more beneficial for us to actually drink water from the tap than it is to go get bottled water. Like, usually when I'm traveling, I think, oh, I better not drink from the tap because it has chlorine, it has all kinds of crap, and I don't have a filter with me.
they said you should, if you have this much interest in water, you could take some of the water from a tap at the airport and take a bottled water, dump it in and do a pH test, and you would be surprised at what actually is the garbage water. But they're saying the thing to recognize here is that we're not just telling you to go drink this water from the tap and that it's so great, because it isn't. They are trying to poison you through your water systems too. So you have to set an intention for your water. And you can do that in the ways that we just said. You can take a crystal, you can make crystal water, you can set an intention in your mind into the water, you can tape a note to the bottom of your water glass, but you don't want to just take the water out of the tap and just drink it and think that it's better than the bottled water. It should also be blessed and an intention set. But get rid of the bottled water. They're very adamant. They hate bottled water.
Can you look, like, I don't know, on Amazon, or can you just look deep into find for us a portable water filter that looks good, like small one?
They're saying this is hard because there actually was a company, it still is, called 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝘁𝗄𝗃. 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝗃 had a lot of like water filtration systems, but they were getting such a good reputation that there are companies now that have tried to shut 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝗃 down. But if you can find a reputable distributor of 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝗃 products or a very close comparator, the 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝗃 filtration systems are one of the best out there, and that you can get portable ones and you can get like ones that can sit on your counter. But that 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝗃, if you can like reach out to 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝗃 directly and they can help provide you some guidance, which they still are willing to do, it sounds like, kind of covertly, because they really have been tried to been shut down, that would be an area to look into.
Any other ones that are like more readily available that look legitimate and look good?
They're saying go out and get a bunch of crystal rocks, and they're like, it's so easy, and put it in a colander that you would strain your potatoes into, put the crystal rocks in there. They're like, this is not rocket science. They're getting very sassy today. They're like, take your water out of your tap and run it through your colander with a bunch of crystals sitting in there, and set your intention, and there's your filter. You want an on-the-go filtration system. That is like the easiest one they said that we could possibly provide you.
But hormones and chlorine, like, what about a small portable one, like besides 𝘄𝗄𝗄𝗃, that's hard to get because they're really good and suppressed? Like, what about another one that's, well, like lesser known, that's actually doing good work?
They're like, they're actually really hard to come by, is what they're saying, and that there's a reason for that, because this is
Okay, well, what about Life Straw?
no, that's not coming through as a really great thing.
What about ionized water? Those small waters that you can get and then you put on some ionizer or something, and they're small.
They're saying there's another word for, they're showing me like, it's not ionizer. There's like a tablet that you can get in, and it's like, oh goodness, I think it starts with an H.
Oh, hydrogen water.
That's it.
Is that good?
That's good, but they're saying be careful again where you source that from, because just like your vitamins, you can get vitamins and there's absolutely none of that vitamin in it, but it's being like labeled as a something, and it's actually not a good product. So they're saying do your research. There's something called, it's with an H. They're showing me the bottle. It's a brown bottle with like a label that has blue on it, and it's something that says like hydrate on it. They're telling me that I should go Google, and then I'll be able to see what this looks like, and I can tell you all later. But that whatever brand this is, that's a good, what's the word again? Hydrogen water source, and that doesn't change necessarily, like, it's not going to remove the fluoride, it's not going to remove the chlorine, but it's going to allow the good properties of the water that are in there to be amplified. And so you get a lot of the good stuff, which is going to outweigh the bad stuff that you're still going to be drinking. But they're actually kind of like still irritated here because they're like, you're not hearing me. It's like so easy. You don't need anything more than like a crystal. They're like, just take a dang crystal in your purse, in your wallet, and put it beside your water and just let it sit there for 5 or 10 minutes and your water is going to be clean. So they just really want me to hammer that through.
Okay. Well, just out of curiosity, yeah, these are all the same. Okay, never mind. They don't have different names. They're just all like Purify. What about Purify Hydrogen Water Bottle?
So they're just going to make a general statement here. They want to, if you're going for a water bottle, even if it's like this miraculous water bottle, like what is the water bottle made of? Is it made of plastics that have, they're like, even if it's like this new, oh, it's BPA free, it's this kind of plastic. They're like, they're being so sassy. Now they're even giving me voices. They're like, it is not good. Plastic is bad. And copper, they're like, copper is not really great. You guys have too much copper in your system already. So you need to find a stainless steel interior bottle. And that can be hard. Some of the technology, it's just easier to infuse things in a plastic bottle. So just essentially be careful with the composition of the bottles that you're buying and really stick as closely as you can to like high grade stainless steel is what they keep saying. Like they're showing me my nursing table in the OR where it's like, yeah, medical grade stainless steel. If you can get that, they're like giving me this, like that's good.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Okay. How's Crystal's body doing? Just out of curiosity. Can I keep asking questions? I know there's a lot more, so.
Let's just do a quick throat clear because ever since we talked about throat issues, there's stuff that's happening there for her. So let's just do that really quickly.
Great. Can you let me know when you're done clearing her throat?
Okay.
Okay. Does Stephanie have a portal or a vortex on her current property?
So they're showing me something interesting about Stephanie's property, and they're not saying portal or vortex, but what they're showing me is these like really wavy lines of like energy on her property. It's almost like she has like a crop of like hay. You know how when they do harvest and there's like the lines? That's kind of what they're showing me. It's like all these wavy energy lines. So she has a really unique flow of energy through the, like kind of hovering above her ground level and right in her ground level that is fairly unique to where she is. They're showing me that it's not a vortex or a portal, but it's just a really interesting energetic pattern, and that her energy also interacts with it in a really neat way. So she like steps onto her land and this wavy energy actually starts to sort of level out a bit. And it's almost like she is not like a portal, but like a grounder of this energy and is using this energy. It like travels up into her and travels like out from her to sort of calm the energy. And she can almost like gather this energy and use it to really her own will in a very like high energetic way. So whether that's tapping into her guides or a meditative state or offering healing to other people, that she can harness this wavy energy and utilize that for lots of good things that she wants to do.
What is her purpose in the Anunnaki connection?
So there is a connection to the Anunnaki because some of the principles that they were familiar with and that they use, she's very attuned to that in this lifetime. So they're actually part of her spirit guide team, and they're connecting with her to help amplify those abilities. And it has actually a lot to do with this energetic field and space and the use of energy. And they're just keep showing me this, like an expansion and a contraction, and that there is a time and place for pushing that energy outwards. And then there's a time where you want to kind of scoop it up and bring it into yourself and like kind of hold it close so that it's there and ready to be pushed out when you need it. And they were very good at this in and out flow of energy, and that they are working with her to better understand how she can utilize it. So the connection isn't that she had a past life with them, it's that she has a similar understanding of the use of energy, and that they are supporting her in that work.
Do you have any messages for her, that anything she could do on her property?
So they're showing me almost like an old school like picnic setup, where they're saying it would be great to encourage people to come and like lay out like picnic blankets and have just an experience sitting out there, and that it would be a great place to do like food blessings. Like we've talked in the past in some readings about, even like fruit that is sprayed with pesticides. It's like, how do you get around all of this stuff that has been genetically modified? And there's like, it has a lot to do with intention setting and energy flow again. So they could bring food almost like a little harvest and set out like a picnic, and the energy on her property would be able to counteract or reduce any of the negative changes that had happened to the food, and that it would be more nourishing for people to eat. So they could do like a blessing on the food, and that the energy there would amplify that blessing. And just in general, to have people spend time on her property, they're just going to feel, they might not even be able to like articulate it or put it into words, but that energy is going to be working with their bodies to, they're showing me again, like the waviness is going to come and it's going to find exactly where it needs to go and help align their energetic field and energetic body, and just put it more in alignment. So if she's open to having people on her property, that there's a lot of good things that she could do there, and that she's sort of meant again to spread that energy. They're showing again that energy is meant to flow and to be shared, and that would be an opportunity for her to broaden the connections that she has.
Okay, how can we as a group heal our ailments in this moment right now? Like, how could we heal what issues we have?
So they're saying like the springs that we talked about earlier, that this water out here actually has incredible healing properties, and that if you all would go out, it's like they're making me laugh. They're showing me something from the old days where people like flocked to parts of the earth because like, I'm going to be healed. But like, it's true. There's healing powers in the water. And when you go in this water, it already has natural healing properties. It has energy that's coming up from the crystalline grid, from quartz crystal itself. And then it's like, it also just has such a deep connection with the land and the earth and its own energy to it. But if you go in and you put, just like we talked about, changing the composition of your drinking water, if you put your intention into that water, you can see miraculous things start to happen. And we had already talked about the Sarah, Crystal and Sarah planned to do like a water blessing, and we wanted it to do it out there on the water. And we're going to encourage you all to get in there, but they're like, we're double, triple, quadrupling encouraging you now to get into the water. And they're kind of making a joke to the people that think it's cold.
I know.
They're like, they're like, get in.
Florida.
They're like, well, they're like, you're gonna get into that water, and then and initially it may feel cold, but
what about our feet? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you're cold, sorry, go ahead.
They're like, what do you want to know about your feet?
Couldn't you just do it with your feet?
You can absolutely just do with your feet, because you're still making a connection with the water. But they're saying you to really, if you can get in there and surround your entire body with it, the more the better. But that your feet are like conductors, and they're going to absorb and bring that energy upwards. So absolutely, you can get in. But they're like, well, why? When you have this beautiful healing water out there, why wouldn't you want it all over you? So totally your choice. But they're like, they would be just like, get in. But yes, you can bring it up through your feet, if that's your preference.
What's more powerful for us, the water out there or the hot springs? Because it's warmer for people in Florida.
They're saying that there are two different energetic sources with
Okay.
similar properties. And so they would actually encourage you to go to both if you had time or come back and do the one because they both have different properties and are both beneficial. And if you just want to stick your feet in here today, you're still getting everything that you need.
Okay, well, is that all we need to do? Like just have the intention that it will heal us? I mean, is there anything else that we really need to do? I mean, because I want us all to heal.
They're saying it's not just about intention setting, but it's also about releasing blockages. So you can set an intention as much as you want, but they're like, it's like hammering your head against the wall. If you don't also speak that you're ready to release any blocks, release anything that's holding you back, that those intentions really can't be placed in the way that you're wanting. And they're showing that the water is such a good facilitator because when you release, it just goes into the water and absorbs, it's neutralized, and it just sort of flows right out. And then you can bring in those pieces of healing through the water. And so they're just saying that water is like very conductive to sort of whatever intention you're placing in it. So allow it to help you release and that allow it to help you bring in that healing.
Okay, and so if we do these things, can we expect healing then?
You can expect healing. They're like 100% healing exists within all of you. It is the blocks that you've been taught sort of to put in place inherently and through social conditioning that disallow that. But you are the owners of your body. You are the creators of your conditions, and that includes healing. And it's going to be this constant battle where, people in power are going to continually try to make you sick. But if you can constantly remind yourself that you are the owner of your spirit and your body, you can counteract what they're doing. It's just that remembrance and putting that into practice.
Okay. In Lourdes's family, endometriosis is very present and severe in her whole maternal family line to a point where many of them can't have children. What is the spiritual meaning behind this and behind endometriosis?
So endometriosis, again, they're showing is heavily related to inflammation, but it's also, as it would be very apparent through her lineage and what's happening, that it can be transferred down in your genetic makeup, and that lots of inflammation conditions can be, that it almost starts to rewrite the cellular makeup within your body. And so that it's not so much a blockage that they've created in an emotional or mental capacity, that this actually does have a lot to do with what began as a change in the genes due to the toxins in the environment, but then there was like a sadness that came into the family line because of that, and that sadness kind of mingled into the genes and mutated the genes too, and that was passed along. And so they're talking again about generational trauma and how that term, people don't have a strong belief in it, but it very much is a thing. And what your parents go through, it does transfer down to you. It's embedded in your genetic makeup, and you hold that sadness there. So they're saying, like, although you can't necessarily completely release the toxic buildup or the sadness, you can lessen it, and you can lessen it by acknowledging that it's there. That sadness sometimes sort of collapses in on itself and becomes more sad when there's again not an outlet for it or recognition that it even exists. So thanking it for the lesson and saying, like, we know where this started, and we want to be the ones to break this pattern, and these are the ways we're going to go about doing that, which is number one, like recognizing that this is actually in existence, that we are going to change our diet slightly to help break that toxic overburden, overload, and that we emotionally want to, again, thank you for the lesson and release that if you're ready to and ready to move on, that those things can lessen it and help you heal. And if you are looking to have children, continuing to move in that light-filled space could open up the fertility pathways.
Okay, are there any, okay, well, so that's what they need to do, and that's what her family line needs to do.
Yeah.
Are there any other treatments for it?
So they're speaking again just about, they're linking it back again to inflammation, all the things we talked about already. So it's really a choice as far as what you're putting into your body. You know, junk food is terrible. It's incredibly inflammatory. People don't love to hear it, but like alcohol, it's just a poison. Like all of those things that you inherently know, those are heavy burdens to an already overburdened system, which that system is in that family. And so reducing some of that sort of that toxic overload can allow for that healing to occur. When you just keep blasting something that's already been blasted for generations, it just adds sort of fuel to the fire, is what they're saying. So be kind, be gentle, give your body nourishing foods and water, and speak to it kindly and give it that sort of oral love as well. Those things combined can make a huge difference.
Okay. She's received multiple messages that she will move closer to nature in the future. What location will that be and when?
So they're showing me something closer to like Texas area actually. Would be really good for her. There's something about that climate that would resonate with her. Like there's like a dry heat, and that there's like a lot of beautiful nature in that area too. And that there's parts of Texas that are also starting to really burgeon into this field of like healing and enlightenment. And so through her work in that area and then a connection to nature, that it would be amplified. And they're showing me that like her energy would be really needed and welcomed there, especially by nature. So somewhere in Texas, they're showing me would be very good for her.
Okay. She's completed her animal Reiki master. What other skills should she pursue after that?
So they're showing me like it's not a stop sign, but okay, so it's like the like a traffic light where there's like the red, yellow, green. They're showing me a yellow for her because I just want to say like it's okay to pause. That it's not always about quantity of like knowledge. Sometimes it's about quality and then putting that into action. And so it's not like what do I need to know next? It's like what do I already know? What do I feel really good about harnessing in on, and how can I make that my area of focus? And that she has so many magical gifts and a lot of courses that she's taken already, and that she essentially has all of the tools that she needs to make the mark on the earth that she's supposed to. And so it's using everything she's already learned and making it her own and giving that back to the world in a gift that's unique to her. But it's not so much about learning more things, it's about learning how to take what she's already learned and making it her own.
Okay. What is the energetic significance of the Puerto Rican Trench, the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean, located just north of Puerto Rico?
They're showing me there's like an energetic pull. So there was something that was happening under there that actually made this so deep because the energy was like pulling it down. And because the energy has like pulled it down, there's almost like a tether. Like they're showing me that that trench is like tethered deep, deep into the crust of the earth, all the way through the ocean and down into the core there. And that it's a very grounding place. So they're like, even if you're above in this trench in water, it's incredibly grounding because it's almost like it's being anchored down again to the core of earth. And so if you want to go to a place to feel grounded, often people think that you have to stand on something, which is fairly common and encouraged. But in that specific place, you can actually be in the water and feel incredibly grounded and connected to earth and its core that way.
Okay. For Maria, is there any specific state or city that would assist her spiritually evolving more?
They're saying no, that in her case, it's just where do you feel drawn to, and that it's actually more about her assisting areas than an area assisting her, that she has all of the tools that she needs. And it's really about her feeling where those gifts could be best utilized. And it's tapping into her intuition and feeling where she's being drawn to, and that where she's being drawn to isn't necessarily where she's going to stay for the rest of her life, that she may actually have a few more moves in her life coming up, but there's not a specific area that they're telling me that she has to go to because it's going to help her. It's more, where is she going to go to help that area and help the people in that area.
What line of work would be most beneficial for her?
So it's kind of along the same vein we've been talking about with her, that it's not about the line of work. It's really about the energy that she leaves there. So it truly doesn't matter. It's whatever she chooses to do, the people that she interacts with and the area that she's working within, she's leaving her energetic imprint there. And so they're like saying it doesn't matter. Like, do something that makes you feel good and like fuels you. But even if you go to work and you're like, oh, this feels like a crummy day, or I'm not like super hyped to go to this job today, you're still doing the work that you're meant to, because it's all about your energy and just sort of what you're leaving there and the interaction of energy and exchange of energy you're having with people in your workplace. That really is what she's here to do, not versus what it is or, the company that she works for. It's just about, leaving that energetic imprint.
Okay, what are the origins of her galactic family?
So they're they're showing me that she's very connected to the star people. So we're not going through a bunch of planets and galaxies and back to a specific area there. They're like, it's as close as just looking up into the sky, and that she's part of the star people that live over there. So sometimes when people cross over, they aren't from heaven. They don't go through to another dimension of Earth and exist there. They actually go back up into the sky, and they kind of keep watch over Earth and over our planetary system, and that she's part of that grouping. And so all she has to do is look up and see her lineage and her family up there in the sky. And so if she's drawn to do that, that's why. And if she hasn't been drawn to do that, she should look upwards more often, because that is where her people are.
Okay. When will ETs make themselves known to humanity? Like, when will this big event with ETs happen?
So they already have been making themselves known in small ways. They are showing themselves more and more often. People all over the world are seeing them, and they're capturing them on technology that we hadn't had that long ago. So they are being able to be captured more easily and shared around the world more broadly. And that was their plan, to wait till that technology came, so that the human consciousness could start to see these videos and be more comfortable with the idea that they were there. And they're saying me it's like maximum sort of 2 years where we're going to see them actually like coming down and landing, and some people having more experiences than just seeing them in the sky. So they're clearly showing me like 2. And they're doing this. There's something, this, this like Spock thing. Now they're laughing. They're making a joke. So they're like doing this. So 2 years.
2 years, then everyone will see them?
Not everyone. They're like, some people will never see them because they're so closed-minded and so closed off. And again, it's about the reality that you create. And they're saying that some people will absolutely refuse to see what's right in front of their face, but that some people are ready and will see them instantly. Some people are going to be so shocked that they don't believe what's in front of their eyes, but they will be open to it and awakened to it. But there will be some people that will never see them no matter what.
Okay. Here's a question. What is blocking their money? The big project is stalled. And yes, no name though. Can you figure out who it is? Oh, okay.
So they're showing me that this has something to do with energy. There's like something energetic around this that is causing this stall and this block. And they're saying that it has to do with trusting and releasing and believing in the timing of things, that things come when they're supposed to, at the time that they're supposed to, but also that you can accelerate that by sending your energy there. So you can ask for blocks to be released. If you feel like something's being held up longer than it should be, you can send that energy there that way. Release all blocks and send whatever outcome you're wanting to see, send that energy to that project. If you're feeling like it really should be coming, but also recognize that if you do all of that and it still isn't happening, that they're clearly saying you just have to trust divine timing, and that maybe there's something else that should be your area of focus, and lending your energy to that while this other thing continues to sort of manifest. Um, it, and yeah, that's really all I'm hearing. It's a lot to do with energy and timing.
Okay, well, does she need to do anything specific for her purpose to be fulfilled? Because she wants a meaningful life.
They're like actually like stomp their foot down on the ground, and they're like, her life is beyond meaningful, and she has already given so much to the earth, and that she needs to recognize how much she's already done, and if she passed away tomorrow, that she could go to the other side and know how much meaning that she's already given through the people that she connects with, through the children that she's raising, through the work that she's done. Her life is full of purpose and meaning, and she has already fulfilled her soul's chart as far as doing that and giving to the world and giving to those that are in her loving circle. And that she just needs to recognize that. And they're showing me that almost everything beyond this point essentially is gravy, and that it is just like that. So what they sort of said in the beginning about coming to Arkansas and moving to Arkansas, and like, if you're not happy here, it's like you have to look inside yourself. And they're like, if she's not feeling fulfilled, look inside yourself, because there's every reason in the world to feel fulfilled. So what is it that is blocking you from seeing that? Because they're so proud of all the work that you've already done.
Yeah, but why hasn't why did the project stall? Like, that's so frustrating.
The project has nothing to do with her worth or her purpose, and they want her to know that. This is like divine timing. It's not just related to her. There's more influence beyond just what will happen for her with this project. And so it's, ensuring that all of those pieces are being met and being influenced with the right timing, but it is not in any way a direct influence of her value or her purpose or anything like that. It's completely separate. So just again, recognizing the power that she has to manifest and change things. And if this is something that really she feels does need to happen at this time, to remove the blocks that we touched upon earlier. But they're saying, please know that this delay has nothing to do with the value of your soul, the purposeful work that you're doing, that you've already done everything and more than they could have ever asked for you.
Okay, well, how can she heal her hair?
They're laughing. They're like, this is so funny for this, like, for the subject that's under. It's like, okay, this project. Okay, how can she heal her hair? Just give her a second. She has to switch her brain.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry
2 seconds. Just they're like, we just got to give her just a second.
Okay. Well, I have, a lot of questions.
So they're showing me a lot of stress in the past that has caused her hair not to be as full or as healthy as she would hope, and that this actually is something that can be released energetically. It's a feeling of almost like unsafety and not being secure, and that has caused the hair to almost become like brittle, thinning, and that it's coming from a state of like lack. And so recognizing that all the turmoil that she's gone through in her past, it's over, and that she can release that part of her life now, and that she needs to train her nervous system to recognize that she's safe now, that she's in a safe place, and that she needs to pat herself on the back because she's created that safety for herself. And so look at all you've done and know that you have the tools to provide for yourself, and you will always be taken care of. And they're showing that her guides and her spirit team are with her always to help ensure that she is cared for. But the hair issues are coming from this fear of like holding on, of like scarcity, of stress, of like times of turmoil. But that stage of her life has really is really being put on the back burner now. It's gone. They're like, no, don't say back burner because it makes it sound like it's still hanging out there. It's gone. It's over with. And just recognize that you are safe now and secure. And once you do that, once you start believing that, your hair is going to start healing and coming back to the state that you are hoping that it would be.
Thank you. Okay, for Lisa, what specific remembrance or encoded gift is ready to activate within her now?
So as soon as you said that, there's like a dragon that went over and it was like swoosh, and it just sat right on her shoulder, and it was like dragon energy, dragon energy, dragon energy, and they're like, I think Sarah mentioned something to her. There was like a conversation already today about her and dragon energy, and it's like, this is the gift. It's about speaking her truth again in a way that doesn't like cut people or like breathe fire at them, but that the information that she has within her needs to be breathed out, just like a dragon would. She's like, they're like, let the fire out, but let it come out in the ways we spoke about earlier, and that she needs to step into her truth and her power and allow that energy to come out. And they're saying, like, she has a fear about doing this. Like, is she ready? How is the world going to embrace or turn away from her? Like, what does that look like? And they just said the people that are ready to hear your message or need to hear your message are going to hear it. And those that aren't ready, you just need to let them fall by the wayside, but to ask them for protection because they can armor you in their scalar like coding again. They're like, we can like wrap her, like just like the Indians used to do back in the day with like a buffalo skin. They can take their skin and essentially wrap you in like a dragon protection and protect you with that. But that essentially you have dragon energy and spirit with you all the time, and that you need to step into that space and start speaking like dragon breath, essentially, like let your knowledge come out.
Okay, what timeline is ready to collapse or close that doesn't serve her highest embodiment?
So they're showing that one of the reasons that her and Crystal have connected so deeply is that they have a history of being very independent women, and when they were young, they both set out from home, they headed out in their own direction, and they did it on their own, and they didn't need the support of a man. That wasn't something that was important to them, but they both ended up getting into relationships that had them lean more into that space of feeling like that was an area of focus for them. But that at this time in their lives, the area of focus for both of them, they're like, this is a dual message. We're doing this again. There, you both need to release then it's not like they know they don't need that, but the like looking for partnership, like you don't keep your eyes open on that right now, that is not your area of focus. That is a timeline that needs to collapse. This like partnership with the opposite sex, let those timelines with those individuals collapse, because the area of focus right now is you stepping into your own power and speaking and allowing your voice to be heard in the world. And once that happens, or like, we almost don't want to say this because then it's like they're going to be looking for it. But once that happens, the right partner will come along for them in the future. But that the timeline of that being a focus for them, just it needs to collapse for both of them.
Thank you. I have another question about Maria. She wants to know how she can heal her heart to bring her soulmate forward, since we were speaking about relationships and things like that.
Oh, they're like so happy. Okay, they get to talk about like one of the favorite things they love to tell groups is about heart healing and heart chakras. And so you may be aware of where your heart chakra resides, but what not everyone is aware of is that your heart chakra also radiates down and is in the palms of your hands. So that is why hands-on healing is so important, because heart chakra energy also exists in the palms. And so when you want to heal your heart, they're actually saying visualize in your head a few different things. You can visualize a loved one holding your heart in their hands. You can place your own palms over your heart area and radiate that heart chakra love on your heart. You could ask Jesus or 𝘄𝘄𝘄, if you have a connection to that energy, to place his hands on your heart or hold your heart in his hands, that is why he was such a powerful healer, because he was attunely aware of the heart chakras in the hands and how healing they were. And that's why he was able to heal so easily by placing hands on people. So when you have a broken heart, they're saying, picture that. Picture someone holding your heart in their hands or putting your own palms on your heart and sending that loving energy to your heart. And that is a really good accelerator for healing. And then just recognizing again, like that your heart is an organ of its own. And oftentimes we don't recognize this miraculous body that we have. When we look at it, we often look at it to criticize it instead of looking at it to love it. And that it's like begging to be seen. It works really hard for all of us every day, and we just kind of like ignore it. And it's the biggest miracle on earth that we have this functioning body that like breathes for us and does all of these miraculous things, including trying to like function with an onslaught of toxins that are trying to bring it down. So just acknowledging, I see you hard and I know you're hurting. It's like your heart just is going to start smiling just through that recognition. And those are some small ways that can really do big things to accelerate your healing.
Thank you. Rebecca is wondering, what else could her farm be doing to capture higher frequency?
So this is interesting. They're like, okay, they're actually saying to put like a flagpole on your land. They're like, you're talking about higher frequency, and instantly they showed me to put like a flagpole on your land that goes up high, and don't like put an American flag on this. Put a flag of your making on it. They're showing me to just sit down with like some canvas material and allow whatever symbology comes through to you to create your own flag, like your own flag for your land that is just connected to your land, and like put that up as almost like a beacon. And it's going to attract even more beautiful energy to that space that is going to align with the work you're doing there and the work that you're going to continue to do. It's almost like you're writing it down into creation, and just essentially creating a beacon for more energy to flow that way.
Okay, cool. Rebecca can get into a trance-like state, just like crystal. Is there more power of more than one person? Is there receptacle at once, or is there more powerful? Is it more powerful in singularity? Just out of curiosity.
So they're saying there's power in numbers. And so however you do this, that if you channel and you have people around like you do and everyone's hearing the message, that's powerful. If you have like more people channeling at once, there's power to that too. So they're showing me it's kind of an either or, but to just recognize that there's power in numbers either way that you do it. So just someone being in the center like you're doing today, but everyone hearing the same message is incredibly powerful. So it's really of your choosing.
Okay. And do you have any more anything else you want to tell Rebecca about anything else at all?
They're showing me that she has a lot of power in her eyes, and that if she looks in the mirror and does self-talk, that's going to be really like magnifying for her as far as eliciting like energy flow within her and awakening some of her abilities. And so they're like, actually, for everybody in this room, like self-talk, they're like, you look in a mirror and you talk to yourself, and you almost feel like squeamish about it because you can really see through your eyes down into your soul. That we all should be doing that and connecting that way. But for her especially, that'll be really powerful. So they're showing mirror work. So looking in the mirror, seeing her eyes, and having that conversation, and there's going to be some activations that occur by her doing that.
Okay, but just out of curiosity, if we look at Rebecca's eyes, what happens to us?
Same thing. They're like, they're all going to flock to you now, Rebecca. But they're like, if you have a conversation with her, take a moment to look in her eyes, because you are going to be able to get some activations just by doing that too. We should tell you that the subject sword is definitely almost at its point
this
here.
Is actually like one of the last questions. Just okay, but just really quickly, where does that come from? Like, where are her eyes connected to? Like, why are her eyes so powerful? Just curious.
So,
and don't say Everyone's eyes are powerful.
We
know.
have to.
No.
We have to say it. We have to say it. We have to say it. All of your eyes are powerful. And so one of the things we should tell you is that today the mention was made when you look out on the water and the ripple in the water and the way that the sun is coming down on it. I think it was Stephanie that said that either yesterday or today, that those are interpreted by your eyes in different ways. And that is true. So your eyes are going to interpret the sun's ripple on the water in a way that you need to see. And the whole time we've been doing this session here today, behind Crystal's eyes, we've been showing her the activation light codes that she saw in the water. So it's been wave of that light. And it's a reminder, and it was obviously meant to be that this question came up, just how powerful your eyes are. And again, that link to the sun. And so if you take the opportunity to look up into the sun, you're going to get these codes. And if you can't look in the sun by even looking at the sun in the water, you're being activated. So it's not that one person's eyes are more special necessarily than the other. They just offer different properties. So for example, if you look into Crystal's eyes, she has a lot of like brown and hazel. And if you look into hers, you're going to be feeling very grounded. She brings like a grounding with earth through looking at her eyes, whereas Becca's eyes are like a very like beautiful like blue that you can almost see the stars in, and they're really activating to the powers there. So everyone's eyes has something special, but hers almost have like the glimmer of the wave sunlight on the waves that you would have seen today, and get those activations. You're going to be able to get that from looking in her eyes.
Ooh, okay. She's going to be really busy today. Do you have any final messages for this group?
They're just like, get in that water. Get in that water. Bring your swimsuits if you didn't. Okay. Do that. And they just want to remind you again that if you thought for some reason that you weren't here for a purpose, that you all are, that you were divinely guided to come to this session, and that just being in this space with one another, being with like-minded people, it's going to accelerate your growth beyond what you could even imagine. And they just want me to say like a big thank you for listening, because there are lots of people that are being divinely guided, but they turn away and they don't listen to that intuition. And you did, and you ran with it. And they're just so glad that you're all here.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, many of us will probably get into the water right now. So just to be sure that we don't have to do anything else before getting into the water, we just set our intentions and we ask for healing, and then we believe we're being healed. Is there anything else?
Don't forget the release. You have to release the blockages first, and then bring in the healing.
And releasing the blockages, is there any specific way we need to release these blockages?
You can just do a general all over. If I have any blockages, please let them be released. But they're also showing that a lot of people are aware of like where a blockage might be because they have a repetitive pattern that keeps happening in their life, or they have like a health concern. And so you can say like, if you're not even aware why that happens, but you know what the symptom is, just speak that and ask that to be released. And then just do a general overall, if there's anything I'm not aware of in my conscious mind, please release all of that, allow the water to take it and allow that to flow away. And then I ask that all of the healing that exists in the water to come forth and come into my body and allow my body to be healed.
Thanks. Do you have any final messages for us?
Just keep going. You have 2 great days ahead, and we look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you so very much.